Hello, welcome to MS's Great channel. In this video, you will learn how to create a custom connectors in Power Automate. Let's start. When you want to create a custom connector in Power Automate, just log into make.powerautomate.com, and on the left side, by default, you will not see any of the custom connectors options. You can enable it on the left side and pin it on the left to make it easier. I'm going to show you first how to pin them. You can see here there are no custom connectors which are visible here. Just open this, discover all, and once you scroll down, you would see custom connectors here under this data sections, and you can pin it to the left navigation. Once you pin it to the left navigation, you can click on the custom connectors and you can see all the available custom connectors which are already available in the environment. So now I'm going to create a new custom connector from the beginning. Click on the new custom connectors and create from blank. So here this is the custom name or the overall name for the custom connectors. As you can see, the custom connectors can take multiple actions. You can create multiple actions, triggers within a single custom connectors. So this name should be something relevant to all the actions which you want to create. Example, in my scenarios, assume that I am going to create a custom connectors to enhance certain abilities for my Power Automate to do. Then I can name it as utilities custom connectors. Then under this utilities custom connector, I can have multiple actions. So let's name it something which is more relevant to you. So for me, I'm going to add it as custom utilities. So this is the name you can provide, and once you provide a name, it takes you to a kind of a wizard. You can see there are 6 major steps. So this, once you go through this, then you would able to create a custom connector and publish it to the Power Automate. You can upload a custom icon for yourself. So for now, I'm just going to leave it default. And you can also specify the background for the custom icon. For example, if in my case I'm going to use custom, then it becomes like the white background for me. And the descriptions for the custom connector, list of all the utilities. And the next option is to have the host name. Since I'm going to use a custom connector with the C# as an option, so I'm going to there is no host as such, so you can name anything on the host. For me, I would just say MS is great, and the base URL I just leave it as it is. Then to the security, since my custom connector has an action which is just a C# code, there is no authentication to it. It's just going to execute a C# code. The next step is the definition. So as I mentioned you before, you can create multiple actions within a single custom connector and also trigger. So the trigger can be like kind of a web hooks you can create. So for now, I'm going to create my actions for the connector. Let me name the action. So for the sample purposes, to create a custom connector, I'm going to just add an action which will just repeat the string which it passes to the Power Automate. So this is a simple custom action. Whenever someone passes a string, I'm just going to append some character within the string and return back. So I would say echo. echo string. And the descriptions, you can add any descriptions. This action will echo the string passed. Operation ID is the ID which will be displayed in the Power Automate, which is kind of a unique ID you can specify for within custom connector. So I'm going to use the same echo string. The visibility is the one which shows there are options within the Power Automate action, whether you can have an advanced drop down to show more details about the action. So the next important thing which you should do is the import request sample. In my case, in this action, this is going to be a C#. So I'm going to post a string, a method, meaning that I'm going to call a post method with an input parameter string, and it is going to return a string. There is no URL as such, but you'll have to have a dummy URL as such. I say MS is great, so you can type any URL here, and the body is one which takes the input. So in this action, there is only one input, which is in string, which is a string of type string. So there is only one input. Whatever the input, the action goes in, and it's just going to echo. So I just say import. So once it is imported, you would see that it has added the path, query, header, and all the detail. The input parameter, if you want to customize it and add more details about the input parameter, you click on the body and then click on edit. Here you would say the body has a in string, which is the input parameter. I can just say edit. You can give a nice title to the body, nice title to the input parameter. I will just say in string, and the default value is also you can assign. This takes a string from the input, so there is no default value. You can also specify whether it is required. So I'm just saying it's a only parameter, so it is required. And again, you can specify where this visibility of this parameter you want to have. You can put it in advanced so that it is hidden by default. Then the user has to click on advanced in the action. That's it about extra properties. So I can just click on back, come back to this option. Everything seems fine. Response, I'm leaving it to default. By default, it takes it can return a string. So you can form a string, you can even return JSON. Later you're going to see it in the code. Validation is successful. AI plugin, this is not mandatory, it is optional, so I'm going to skip and go directly to the code. So as you can see here, this is the code, sample code which automatically it generates. If you can upload your own C# code. So in my case, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to enable this code sample. Make sure you select your action and you start modifying your code. So any action executed in the Power Automate, it comes into this method, and you can use the parameter to get the value and then just make use of the value. So in this example, you see here it returns you the JSON format. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove this and add my own code. So let me zoom this so that it becomes easier. Okay, so this is the code. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to get the parameter. To get the parameter, you will have to configure the details. So let me use this option. So this is the code you will have to use to get the parameter. Read string as configure right of. So this is the basically you just using this dot context, the current context, and the request. The request is in the form of JSON. You get the content of the request and then read it as a string. and once you read it as a string, then just convert that as a JSON format. So once you convert that into a JSON format, then it is easier to read. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to get the parameters from the input. So let's use this option. I will have to typecast this to string because it's a string parameter, content as JSON, and you can pass the value, so which is in string. So in string is the name of the parameter which we gave in the previous screen, so make sure that the name is correct. So now the value is in the parameter 1. So value is in the parameter 1. So what I'm going to do is that with this parameter I'm just going to concatenate some extra string and then just return it back. So parameter is equal to parameter plus added the parameter string. That's it. So whatever you pass in, it adds an extra string into this. And if you notice here, the response content, we should pass the response content. The response content, I'm going to pass it as string content rather than JSON content. So string content of whatever the input. So my input is parameter 1. Parameter 1. Okay, so the code is done. It's a very simple code. Whatever you pass in, it's just going to return it back with the concatenated string. The next step is to test this code. I'm going to click on the test. So when you test the code of an action, you will have to create a connector. It is very clear. So you need to create a connection. So what you should do is that you should click on the create connector. When you create a connector, it automatically creates a connection as well. So make sure that you have relevant permission to create a connection, because in some organization they might block you from creating a connection. So make sure that you have action to create a connection. So there is an error happen, so it requires some code. Let's go back to the code and see what is the error. So you need a semicolon here. I missed a semicolon here, and also you need a semicolon here. So it's a C# code, so make sure that you add all the syntax properly. So in my case, I just missed few syntax. Let me test again. Create connector. Hopefully it works now. So the now custom connector is created successfully, and it asks you to create a new connection if there is no connection created. And you can see here the in string. So to test it, I'm going to create a new connection. It takes a while to create a connection. It has created a connection for the custom utilities, and you can see the test operation. This test operation is visible only when you create the connection. I'm going to pass this is great test operation. Perfect. Okay, so this is the output as a plain string. So I passed in MS is great, and it added the parameter string or concatenated the static string to it. So now this is successfully created. Once this is successfully created and tested, make sure that it is green and then close this. Now what I am going to do is that this is the custom utilities which has been created. Now I'm going to create a simple Power Automate to make use of this. So go back to my flows and then create a new instant flow. So here I'm going to create a manually triggered flow. I'm going to say custom connector. Okay, so this is a manually triggered flow, and I'm going to add an action. So in my action, I should be able to see utilities. action, and then it is. So if you cannot find it by the utilities or by the name, you always have a choice to say built-in or standard, premium or custom. So when you click on custom, you would see all your custom connectors which are being created. In my case, this is the one, echo string. I'm just going to add the echo string, and you can see there is only one parameter in string, and I'm going to pass semicolon. Okay, added. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to test this flow, save, and then test it. Successfully saved. Now I'm going to test the flow, manually created, then it's going to trigger. This is the custom utilities, continue, run the flow. So when you execute the flow, it should just trigger and then get back the result. Okay, so it is loading the input. This is the input which I am passing, and you can see this is the output which you are getting it outside. So this is a very simple custom connector which we have created and then made use of it in Power Automate. Hope this video finds you in good use case. See you.